Hello, everybody. Andre Paradis, your host, your coach at Project Equinox. And today I want to talk to you, teach a little teaching piece about the work that I do with clients in the realm of relationships. And we call it the relationship attachment styles. There are three relationship attachment styles: secure attachment styles, anxious attachment styles, and avoidant attachment styles. These are the three standard. These come to pass for our childhoods. If you've had healthy families, healthy bonds with your parents, it's easy for people to grow into healthy bonds with others, creating families and raising healthy children, knowing how to bond, just secure with that, understanding how to do it, just knowing how to do it, having experienced that as a child. The other two are from less ideal childhood dynamics with family and parents and loved ones. The one I want to concentrate on today specifically is the anxious relationship attachment styles. And the anxious relationship attachment styles is characterized by a deep fear of abandonment and rejection for individuals with those attachments. They often crave intimacy and closeness, but are really afraid ultimately to be abandoned and left alone. So it creates this polarity of push-pull where they want, but they're afraid, but they want, but they're afraid. So they pulled in, then they pull out, they pull in and pull out, which, by the way, as an anxious relationship style, creates a lot of anxiety within the relationship with the other partner. It's very interesting. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Interesting to look at, to study, and to peel back to understand, because it's confusing. It's very confusing to the person in the middle of this. So some of the signs that show up in anxious attachment, relationship attachment styles is to constantly seeking reassurance from the partner, constantly creating assurances, it's insecurity about the dynamic, the commitment, are they going to stay, which creates anxiety for both, which grinds the relationship. Getting insecure, jealous in the relationship, again, more pressure. That's from really within the relationship, not the outside of it. There's a lot of fear of abandonment and rejection. There's overthinking, over worrying about the other person, what they're doing, what they're thinking, do they still like me? When they're not with me, what are they doing? More tension, more anxiety. It's interesting. They have a difficulty ultimately to trust their partners. And also, like I just said, hypervigilant, where they're at, what they're doing, who they're with. More tension, more anxiety. They all sometimes become overly dependent on their partners, which creates another sort of a choking effect with the other one, more anxiety. Or they become anxious if the partner is not behaving in a way they think they should within the relationship. So it's interesting. So that creates a bunch of terrible dynamics, I want to say, all based in fear of be able to sustain and feel safe in a relationship. It's interesting. So how do you fix anxious attachments in relationships, or how do you heal anxious attachments in relationship? It's a struggle because this has to do with boundaries, or creating healthy boundaries and communications. So it's difficult. If it's difficult to express yourself in an anxious dynamic, it makes it worse. And so again, it's a fear of abandonment and rejection. Often it will sabotage the relationship because, like I said earlier, the anxiety that it creates within the relationship, the couple, and there's a pushing and pulling. Talked about this earlier. So how do you fix anxious relationship attachment style? The person experiencing those anxieties, you have to go back to what I call practicing self-care and taking care of themselves. They're over projecting outside themselves, where they need to focus in. What do I need? Why do I need it? Why am I afraid? Where is that coming from? It's called doing your work, right? We're all the results of our past and our childhoods. And if you don't clean that up, you project that into your relationships, and then you create this dynamic that will often destroy the relationship. So practicing self-care, self-love, learning to communicate effectively, these are things you have to learn. Most of us don't communicate well or don't know how to communicate at all or wants and needs. If you're anxious on top of this, woof, right? Um, Setting boundaries for yourself again. Who am I? What do I want? Why am I responding this way? Where does it come from? Do your work. And a big one, I think maybe the biggest one, is to challenge the negative thoughts in your head, also based in childhood, abandonment, neglect, um, abuse issues, that you feel not worthy, you want but you can't trust, you want but you can't trust, you want to. So you want the relationship but you can't trust it. You want to fall in love but you're afraid to get hurt, like the pull, push, pull, anxious. So to do your work and really challenge where those beliefs in your head came, that either you're not lovable or you can't sustain it, that you're going to get abandoned ultimately, which is the last thing that you want, but the anxiety actually creates the detachment from the madness, right? And ultimately seeking some counseling, some help. Get some help. Get some help. That's one of the best advice. Get some help, like whether you get a coach, or a therapist or any other version. So good thing is, don't think it's doomed if you're an anxious person in a relationship. If you're an anxious style relating into relationships, know that it's not permanent. It's fixable. It's fixable. You have to do your work again, but just you have to put in some time, some effort, some energy into healing that, peeling the onion back, finding out where that comes from, and then reassessing or addressing really clearly what is it that you want the future to be. So it takes courage, absolutely. It takes time, absolutely. It takes focus, absolutely. It takes getting some help, absolutely. I encourage you to do all of that, because it's when you challenge and push that you get on the other side of the mountain. To stay in victimhood and in fear will get you nowhere, but exactly what you're afraid of: abandonment, neglect, alone. Interesting. So I'm going to do the other attachment style that I want to talk about, the avoidant, in that next video. However, if you're curious, you want to know more about what I do, my work, my coaching, my programs, my website, projectequinox.net, go on under the contact tab and scroll down to appointment and click yourself a VIP 1 hour session with me. It's on me, it's complimentary. Whether you're a man or a woman, there's a short questionnaire, and fill that out so I get to be prepared for you. And you can pick a time on my calendar for us to talk one-on-one. People who want to take action, want to get through, want to step in, want to manage, get the future that they want, are courageous, take a risk, book a call, and ask the question. I'm encouraging you all to do this, and hopefully I'll see you on my side. Thanks so much.